It's been a really long time since I've been able to just dig into a series and feel fully immersed and enjoy myself. That's exactly what I've been experiencing since I started watching Silo. At its core, Silo is a story about control. Who holds the power to define reality and what happens when that reality is questioned? But the struggle isn't new. Over 2,000 years ago, Plato described a nearly identical concept in his Allegory of the Cave, where prisoners mistake shadows for truth, just as the citizens of Silo accept their confined world as the only possible reality. This essay will examine how Silo reinterprets Plato's allegory, what it says about the nature of truth and control, and why the battle between ignorance and enlightenment remains as relevant as ever. If you're not familiar with Plato's Allegory of the Cave, just know that it's a philosophical classic, and here's a bit of a rundown. In the allegory, prisoners are chained in darkness, facing a wall. Behind them, a fire casts shadows of objects onto the wall, and since the prisoners have never seen anything else, they accept these shadows as reality. One day, a prisoner is free. At first, the light outside is blinding and the real world is overwhelming. But as he adjusts, he realizes the truth. He starts to see things like trees and grass and mountains. What he once believed was merely an illusion. When he returns to the cave to free the others, they reject him, fearing the unknown more than they desire the truth. Much like Plato's prisoners, the people of the silo live inside a controlled reality. They are born underground, raised to believe the outside world is toxic to their health, and taught to obey without question. The screens that show a dead, lifeless earth serve the same function as the shadows in the cave, projected images that reinforce what the rulers want people to believe. In Plato's cave, the prisoners aren't just misunderstanding reality on their own. They're manipulated by unseen figures who control what they see. In Silo, this role is played by the authorities, judicial, IT, and the secret keepers who determine what information is allowed. Bernard, like a modern-day puppet master, ensures that only sanctioned truths reach the people. The public sees a toxic wasteland outside, reinforcing fear and obedience. But here's the twist. Unlike in Plato's allegory, the silo's display isn't falsified. The deception runs deeper. It's actually the cleaner's helmet feed that's been altered, showing them a lush, green world inside that helmet. It's not just misinformation, it's psychological manipulation, making the dissenters want to clean the sensor before they die. Meanwhile, the public sees the real toxic wasteland, reinforcing their belief that questioning the system leads to death. The brilliance of this control is that it doesn't outright lie about the outside world. It simply withholds the full truth. The people are correct that their air is lethal, but they aren't told that proper tape could allow for survival. By keeping this crucial knowledge hidden, the system ensures that no one ever fully escapes. One of the most powerful forms of control in both stories is restricting knowledge. The residents of the silo aren't just physically trapped, they're intellectually imprisoned. Items from before their times are restricted. Books are censored, records are destroyed, and only a select few know the full history. This mirrors Plato's idea that the prisoners wouldn't believe the freed individual if he returned, because their entire understanding of reality is too deeply ingrained to be easily shattered. If the cave prisoners were shown the sun, they would reject it as madness. Likewise, the people of the silo dismiss anything that contradicts their worldview, not because they lack intelligence, but because the system has made doubt itself dangerous. In the allegory of the cave, the freed prisoner doesn't just escape. He feels the duty to return and free the others. But knowledge alone isn't enough. Convincing those still inside the cave is the real challenge. Juliet undergoes the same transformation, but her mission isn't just about enlightenment, it's about survival. Juliet initially believes her world is confined to a single silo, just as Plato's prisoners assume the cave is the entire world. But when she escapes, she learns the shocking truth. There are many silos, each one sealed off, each population raised in ignorance. The realization is like the freed prisoner seeing the vastness of the world for the first time. It changes everything. Just like the discovery of the hard drive changed everything for Allison, Holston, and George. Plato's allegory suggests that the freed prisoner, upon returning, would be met with hostility. Juliet faces the same resistance, but she also has an urgent reason to go back. When Solo, the man she meets outside, tells her what happened in his silo, she realizes history is about to repeat itself. In his silo, a cleaner also survived. The uninformed population took it as a proof that they had been deceived. They rebelled, forced their way outside, and thousands died instantly from the toxic air. Now, Juliet fears her own silo is on the verge of making the same mistake. She doesn't just want to return, she has to, before it's too late. So what is it that silo teaches us? The allegory of the cave isn't just an ancient thought experiment. It's a timeless reflection on power, perception, and control. Silo modernizes this idea, showing how institutions shape reality, how fear keeps people in line, how difficult it is to break free from a system designed to sustain itself. But perhaps the most unsettling part of Silo isn't what happens in the story. It's what it reveals about us. How much of our own reality is shaped by unseen forces? How often do we accept the shadows on the wall? Because questioning them is too dangerous or too difficult. And if someone showed us the truth, would we even believe them?